The stars were quiet in the nebula. They always were. This far from the trade lanes, nothing moved except dust and dead ships. Cole liked it that way. He had come out here to be alone, to haul cargo between forgotten outposts, and to stop thinking about the past. His ship was called the Drifter. It was old and ugly and made strange sounds when he pushed it too hard. But it was his, bought with 10 years of hard work and harder choices. He had been a combat medic once, back on Earth, back when he believed in things like duty and honor. Now he just believed in getting paid and staying alive. Cole was drinking cold coffee in the cockpit when the distress signal came through. It was weak, barely a whisper against the background noise of the nebula. Most haulers would have ignored it. Distress signals out here usually meant pirates using bait or already dead ships broadcasting to empty space. Cole should have ignored it too, he knew that. But something in the signal made him pause. It was a pattern he did not recognize, strange and musical, like someone singing through static. He set down his coffee and listened. The signal came from a debris field about 2 hours away. Cole ran the numbers in his head. He had enough fuel. He had enough time. He had no good reason to go. He went anyway. The debris field was worse than he expected. Pieces of a ship floated in the darkness, twisted and burned. Cole had seen enough wreckage in his life to know what had happened here. This was not an accident. Someone had attacked this ship with serious weapons. Plasma burns marked the larger fragments. The hull had been torn open from the outside. Cole moved the drifter slowly through the field, scanning for life signs. His equipment was old, but it worked. For a long time there was nothing, just metal and silence and the cold light of distant stars. Then he found her. A single life sign, faint but real, coming from a section of the ship that had somehow stayed intact. Cole brought the drifter alongside and suited up. He did not think about the risk. He did not think about who might still be out there, watching. He just moved. The airlock on the wrecked ship was jammed. Cole used a cutting torch to get through, working fast, his breath loud inside his helmet. The interior was dark and cold. Emergency lights flickered red every few seconds, showing him glimpses of destruction. Bodies floated in the corridors. Some wore uniforms he did not recognize. Others wore armor, the kind mercenaries used. Cole followed the life sign deeper into the ship. He found her in what looked like a medical bay. She was lying on the floor, half buried under a fallen beam. Her skin was pale blue, almost silver, and it glowed faintly in the darkness. She was not human. Cole had seen aliens before. The galaxy was full of them, but he had never seen one like this. She was tall and slender, with features that were almost human but not quite. Her eyes were closed. Blood, darker than human blood, pooled beneath her. He checked her vital signs with his scanner. She was alive, but barely. Something had hit her hard in the chest, cracking what he guessed were ribs. Her breathing was shallow and uneven. Without help, she would die within hours. Cole did not hesitate. He lifted the beam off her body, careful not to cause more damage. Then he picked her up and carried her back to the drifter. She weighed almost nothing in the low gravity. Her glow flickered like a candle in the wind. He got her into the medical bay on his ship and went to work. Cole had not practiced medicine in years, but the skills never really left. He stabilized her breathing first, then addressed the internal bleeding. Her biology was different from anything he had studied, but the basics were the same. Stop the bleeding. Keep the heart pumping. Give the body time to heal. It took him 3 hours. By the end, his hands were shaking and his back ached from bending over the table. But she was stable. Her glow had strengthened, pulsing softly in the dim light of the medical bay. She was going to live. Cole sat down in the corner and closed his eyes. He did not know who she was. He did not know who had attacked her ship or why. He did not know what he had just gotten himself into. But he knew one thing. He was not going to leave her. The woman woke up 6 hours later. Cole was in the cockpit, running scans of the area, when he heard movement from the medical bay. He grabbed a sidearm out of habit and went to check. She was sitting up on the table, looking around with wide eyes. When she saw Cole, she froze. Her eyes were large and silver, like mirrors reflecting the light. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then she spoke. Her voice was weak but clear, and somehow Cole understood her words even though she was not speaking any language he knew. "Where am I? Who are you?" Cole lowered his weapon. "My name is Cole. You are on my ship. I found you in the wreckage and brought you here." She stared at him. "You are human." "Yes." "Humans do not come to this region of space. Humans do not involve themselves in the affairs of the—" Cole shrugged. "I heard a distress signal. I came to help." The woman studied him for a long time. Cole could not read her expression. Her face was beautiful but alien, and her silver eyes gave nothing away. "I am Ra," she said finally, "daughter of Queen, heir to the Dominion. The ship you found was my escort. We were attacked by mercenaries." Cole felt his stomach drop. He had just rescued a princess. An alien princess from a species that considered humans barely worth noticing. This was going to get complicated. "Do you know who sent them?" he asked. "I have suspicions." Ra tried to stand, then winced and sat back down. "I need to return to my mother must know what has happened." Cole nodded slowly. He had no idea where the was. He had no idea how dangerous the journey would be. He had no idea what he was getting into. But he looked at this woman, wounded and alone and far from home, and he made a decision. "I will take you there," he said. Ra looked at him with surprise. "Why? You owe me nothing. My people have never been friends to humans." Cole thought about the question. He thought about all the reasons to say no, all the reasons to drop her at the nearest station and walk away. He thought about the life he had been living, alone and empty and going nowhere. "Because you need help," he said simply, "and I can give it." Ra did not respond, but something in her silver eyes changed just a little. It might have been confusion. It might have been the beginning of respect. Cole returned to the cockpit and set a course for space. Behind him, the debris field faded into the darkness. Ahead, the stars waited. He did not know what was coming, but he had made a promise, and Cole did not break his promises. Not ever. The first attack came 2 days later. Cole was sleeping when the alarm screamed through the ship. He was on his feet and running before his eyes were fully open. In the cockpit, red lights flashed warnings. 3 ships had appeared on his scanner, coming fast from behind an asteroid cluster. Ra appeared in the doorway, still weak but standing. "What is happening?" "Company," Cole said. He dropped into the pilot seat and grabbed the controls. "Hold on to something." The drifter was not built for fighting. It was built for hauling cargo through boring routes where nothing ever happened. But Cole had modified the engines years ago, adding power he did not really need. Now that power might save their lives. He pushed the throttle forward and the ship jumped. The 3 vessels behind them adjusted course and followed. They were faster and newer, but Cole knew this nebula. He had spent years flying through it, learning its secrets. He dove toward a dense cloud of gas and dust. The pursuing ships followed. Inside the cloud, visibility dropped to almost nothing. Cole flew by instinct and memory, weaving between rocks he could barely see. Behind him, he heard a crash as one of the pursuing ships hit something solid. "To left." Cole burst out of the cloud and immediately cut his engines. The drifter went silent and dark, drifting like dead metal. The 2 remaining ships shot past, still accelerating, searching for a target that was no longer there. Cole waited. 1 minute, 2. Then he restarted the engines and flew in the opposite direction. Ra watched all of this without speaking. When they were finally clear, she turned to him. "That was impressive," she said. "Where did you learn to fly like that?" "Practice," Cole said. He did not mention the war. He did not mention the years he spent flying medical shuttles through combat zones, dodging fire and explosions to reach wounded soldiers. Some things did not need to be shared. The next few days were difficult, was still healing, and Cole had to play the role of doctor and pilot and guard all at once. He barely slept. He ate when he remembered to eat. He watched the scanners constantly, waiting for the next attack. It came again and again. Word had spread across the sector that the princess was alive and traveling with a human. The bounty on her head grew larger. Pirates and mercenaries appeared from everywhere, hunting for the prize. Cole fought them off each time, not with weapons, because the drifter had almost none. He fought with cleverness and tricks and pure stubbornness. He led hunters into asteroid fields and watched them crash. He hacked into communication relays and sent false signals, making their pursuers chase ghosts. He landed on dead moons and powered down, becoming invisible until the danger passed. Ra watched him. At first, she did not understand. Among her people, strength meant power and technology and ancient wisdom. Humans had none of these things. They were young and weak and lived such short lives. Her people barely noticed them. But this human was different. He did not sleep so that she could rest safely. He gave her his food when supplies ran low, saying he was not hungry when she could see the lie in his eyes. He risked his life over and over for someone he did not know, someone whose people had never shown his kind any respect. One night, when the ship was quiet and they were drifting through empty space, Ra asked the question that had been growing inside her. "Why are you doing this?" Cole looked up from the scanner. His eyes were tired and red. He had not slept in almost 2 days. "Doing what?" "Helping me, risking your life. You could have left me at any station. You could have traded me to the mercenaries for money. Instead, you fight for me. Why?" Cole was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm and simple. "When I was young, I made a promise to myself. I said that if I ever had the chance to help someone, I would take it, no matter the cost, no matter who they were, because that is what I believe in, not countries or flags or money, just people helping people." Ra did not know what to say. Among her kind, such thinking would be considered foolish. Resources were limited. Life was precious. You protected your own and ignored the rest. That was wisdom. But looking at Cole, she began to wonder if her people had missed something important. "Your life is short," she said quietly. "You will live perhaps 80 years if you are lucky. My kind lives for centuries. Does it not seem wasteful to spend your brief time helping strangers?" Cole smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. "Maybe that is why we do it. We know our time is short, so we try to make it mean something." Ra thought about this for a long time after Cole returned to watching the scanners. She had been taught that humans were primitive, emotional, foolish. But now she wondered if those emotions, that foolishness, might actually be something else. Courage, kindness, hope. The days passed and they grew closer. Ra told Cole about her, about the crystal cities and the endless oceans and the songs her people sang to the stars. She told him about her mother, the queen, wise and ancient and burdened by the weight of leadership. She told him about the pressure of being the only heir, the expectations that crushed her like a physical weight. Cole listened. He did not judge. He did not offer advice unless she asked for it. He simply listened, and somehow that was enough. In return, Cole told her about Earth, about blue skies and green forests and cities full of noise and life. He told her about the war he had fought in, the friends he had lost, the reasons he had run away to the stars. He told her about the loneliness of the frontier, the empty years of hauling cargo and talking to no one. "You were running from something," Ra said. "Yes. And now?" Cole looked at her. His eyes were still tired, but something else was there too, something that looked almost like peace. "Now I am running towards something. I just do not know what yet." They were attacked again the next morning. 2 ships this time, faster and more determined than the others. Cole fought them off, but the drifter took damage. One of the engines was failing. They could not run much longer. Cole looked at the map and made a decision. There was a dead moon nearby called. It was far from any trade route, forgotten by most travelers. They could hide there and make repairs. But as they approached the moon, Cole saw something on his scanner. More ships, many more. A small fleet waiting in the shadow of the moon. They were trapped. Cole's hands tightened on the controls. He had faced bad situations before. He had survived things that should have killed him. But this was different. This was the end of the road. Beside him, Ra placed her hand on his arm. Her skin was cool and soft, and her silver eyes were calm. "There is one chance," she said. "A frequency known only to royalty, hidden, secret. If any loyalists are nearby, they will hear it." Cole nodded. "Do it." Ra closed her eyes and began to transmit. The signal went out into the darkness, a call for help from a princess who had no one left to trust. They waited. And somewhere in the black between stars, someone answered. The ships came out of nowhere. One moment the scanners showed only enemies. The next, a small fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel and positioned itself between the drifter and the mercenaries. The lead ship was old but heavily armed. Its hull was covered in markings from a dozen different species, like a patchwork of flags and symbols. A transmission came through, and a deep voice filled the cockpit. "Princess Ra, this is Commander As. We heard your call." Ra's eyes widened. She knew that name. As had been one of her mother's finest officers before everything went wrong. He had refused an order to destroy a civilian ship that carried refugees. For his mercy, he had been stripped of his rank and exiled from space. "As," she said, "you came." "I serve the true crown, princess, not the politics around it. Now stay behind us. We will handle these dogs." The battle was short and brutal. The mercenaries were well equipped, but As and his fleet fought with a ferocity that surprised them. Within 20 minutes, 3 of the hunting ships were destroyed and the rest fled into the nebula. As brought his ship alongside the drifter and extended a docking bridge. When the airlock opened, Cole found himself face to face with a warrior who looked nothing like Ra. As was tall and broad, his pale skin covered in old scars. His silver eyes were hard and cold, the eyes of someone who had seen too much death. Behind him stood others. Not all. Cole saw species he recognized and species he did not. A massive creature with 4 arms, a small being covered in feathers, a humanoid with skin like polished stone. This was a crew of outcasts gathered from across the galaxy. As looked at Cole with obvious suspicion. "You are the human who saved the princess." "I am." "Why?" Cole met his stare without flinching. "Because she needed help." As stared at him for a long moment. Then something shifted in his expression. Not quite respect, but not contempt either. "We shall see," he said. "Come, we have much to discuss." The fleet made temporary repairs to the drifter and began moving towards space. But the journey would not be easy. The direct route was blocked by enemies loyal to Lord, the noble who had ordered the attack on Ra's ship. They would have to go the long way, through territory controlled by species that hated the. Cole adapted quickly to life among the fleet. He was an outsider, but he did not let that stop him. When the crew needed extra hands for repairs, he volunteered. When there was dangerous work to be done, he stepped forward. When supplies ran low, he was the first to cut his rations. The other members of the fleet watched him with curiosity. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Most of them had never met one before. A warrior named the massive 4-armed creature approached Cole one day while he was working on a damaged power relay. "You are strange for a human," said. His voice was like gravel. Cole looked up. "How so?" "Your people are known for being selfish, short-lived, concerned only with your own survival, yet you risk yourself for others constantly." Cole wiped grease from his hands. "Maybe you have met the wrong humans. Considered this. Perhaps, or perhaps you are simply different. Maybe, or maybe we are all like this when it matters." made a sound that might have been a laugh. If that is true, then your species is more dangerous than anyone realizes. Cole did not respond. He just returned to his work. The days passed and the fleet moved deeper into hostile territory. There were more fights, more close calls. During one battle, the lead pilot of Os's ship was wounded, unable to fly. Without a pilot, the ship was vulnerable. Cole stepped forward. "I can fly it." Os looked at him with disbelief. "You, a human, this is a warship. The controls are designed for our kind." "I learned fast." Os hesitated, but there was no time. Enemy ships were closing in. He nodded sharply. Cole took the pilot seat. The controls were different from anything he had used before. Strange symbols, unfamiliar layouts, but the basic principles were the same: speed, direction, reaction. He had spent years learning to fly under pressure. This was just another test. The battle was intense. Cole flew the warship like he had been born in its cockpit. He dodged attacks that should have destroyed them. He positioned the ship perfectly for the gunners to take their shots. When an enemy vessel tried to ram them, Cole spun away at the last second and let it crash into an asteroid. When it was over, Os stood behind him in silence. The rest of the crew stared. "Where did you learn to fly like that?" Os finally asked. Cole climbed out of the seat, his hands still shaking from the adrenaline. "I told you, practice." That night the crew's attitude toward Cole changed. He was no longer just the strange human who followed the princess. He was one of them. They shared drinks with him. They told him stories of their own worlds. They asked about Earth, about humanity, about the strange species that had somehow produced someone like Cole. Ra watched all of this from a distance. She saw how Cole moved among these outcasts, how he made them laugh, how he earned their trust through actions instead of words. Her people valued age and wisdom and careful thought. But Cole had something else, something raw and honest and real. She found him alone on an observation deck later that night. He was looking out at the stars, his face tired but peaceful. "You did well today," she said. Cole shrugged. "I just flew a ship." "You saved lives. You proved yourself to people who had every reason to doubt you." She paused. "My kind would never have given you a chance. We would have assumed you could not do it because you are human." "And now?" Ra stood beside him, looking out at the same stars. "Now I am beginning to think we have been wrong about many things." They stood in silence for a long time. Then Ra spoke again, her voice softer than before. "When I return home, things will be difficult. Lord has support among the nobles. My mother is powerful, but she has enemies. I do not know what will happen." Cole turned to look at her. "Whatever happens, you will not face it alone." Ra met his eyes. In that moment, something passed between them, an understanding, a connection that went beyond species or culture or the vast differences in their lives. "You barely know me," she said. "You owe me nothing, yet you keep making these promises." Cole smiled. "That is what humans do. We make promises and we keep them." Ra did not smile back, but she reached out and placed her hand over his. Her skin was cool and smooth, glowing faintly in the dim light. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." Cole did not respond with words. He just stood there with her, watching the stars, feeling for the first time in years that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Ahead of them, space waited, and with it, dangers neither of them could yet imagine. They were 3 days from space when everything fell apart. Cole woke to the sound of alarms. Red lights flashed through the corridors of Os's ship. He grabbed his sidearm and ran toward the bridge, passing crew members who looked just as confused as he felt. On the bridge, Os stood over a console, his face twisted with rage. Ra was beside him, her silver eyes wide with shock. "What happened?" Cole demanded. Os turned to him. "We have been betrayed. Someone on this ship has been sending our location to Lord's forces. They are coming, all of them." Cole looked at the tactical display. It showed a massive fleet approaching from multiple directions, dozens of ships, heavily armed, moving to surround them. There was no way to fight through that many enemies. Cole asked, who is the traitor? Oz shook his head. I do not know, not yet, but it does not matter now. They have disabled our faster-than-light engines. We cannot run. The next hour was chaos. Oz tried to organize a defense, but his small fleet was hopelessly outmatched. One by one, the other ships in their group were destroyed or captured. Soon only Oz's flagship remained, surrounded on all sides. A transmission came through. A face appeared on the main screen. Cole did not recognize him, but Ra clearly did. Her body went rigid with hatred. Lord, she said. The alien on the screen was tall and elegant, with pale skin like Ra's but colder somehow. His silver eyes glittered with amusement. Princess, he said, you have caused me a great deal of trouble. I thought you died in the nebula. Imagine my surprise when I learned you were still alive, traveling with a pet human of all things. You will pay for what you have done, Ra said. My mother will destroy you. Laughed. Your mother is old and weak. The Dominion needs new leadership, young blood, vision. When I present your body to the council, they will have no choice but to accept me as the new ruler. The people will never follow you. The people follow power, and I have plenty of that. Eyes moved to Cole. Is this the human who has been protecting you? He seems unremarkable. Tell me, human, why do you fight for a species that considers you insects? Cole stepped forward. Because it is the right thing to do. Stared at him for a moment, then laughed again. How touching, and how useless. You will all die here and no one will remember any of you. The transmission cut off. Through the viewports, Cole could see the enemy ships moving closer, weapons charged, ready to fire. Oz turned to his crew. We fight to the end, no surrender. But Cole was not listening. He was thinking, running through options in his mind. There had to be a way. There was always a way. Then he saw it. The drifter was still docked to Oz's ship. It was small and fast and had just enough fuel for a short trip. If someone could break through the enemy formation and broadcast a message across the sector, the truth about crimes, then maybe it would matter. Maybe it would change something. Cole knew it was a suicide mission. He knew he would probably die. But he also knew that if he did nothing, everyone would die anyway. He made his decision. I need to use my ship, he said to Oz. I have a plan. Oz frowned. What kind of plan? I am going to fly straight its flagship. I am going to broadcast everything. Who he is, what he did, how he tried to murder the princess. The whole galaxy will hear it. That is insane. You will be killed before you get close. Maybe, but it might give you time to escape. And even if it does not, the truth will be out there. The people will know what kind of monster is trying to take their throne. Ra grabbed his arm. Number Cole, I will not let you do this. You will die. Cole looked at her. Her silver eyes were bright with emotion. He had never seen her like this before, so open, so vulnerable. Maybe, he said gently, but your people need to know the truth, and you need to survive. You are the future of the Dominion. I am just a cargo hauler from Earth. You are more than that. Cole smiled. Then let me prove it. Before she could argue further, he pulled away and ran toward the docking bridge. Ra's voice called after him, but he did not stop. If he stopped, he might change his mind, and he could not afford to change his mind. The drifter was cold and dark when he climbed aboard. He powered up the systems quickly, feeling the familiar hum of the engines. This old ship had carried him across the galaxy. Now it would carry him one last time. He undocked and flew straight toward the enemy fleet. The first shots came within seconds. Cole dodged and weaved, using every trick he had learned over the years. The drifter was hit once, twice, but kept flying. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the cockpit. Cole ignored it all. He opened a broadcast channel. Wide band, every frequency, Every ship in the sector would hear this. "My name is Cole," he said. "I am a human, and I have a message for the people of the Dominion." He told them everything. About the attack on Ra's ship, about the mercenaries hired by Lord, about the conspiracy to murder the royal family and seize the throne. He spoke clearly and calmly, even as his ship was torn apart around him. "Lord is a traitor and a murderer. Princess is alive. And I am just a human who happened to be in the right place at the right time. But I know the difference between right and wrong. And I know that you do too." The message went out across the stars. Every ship in his fleet heard it. Every vessel in the sector heard it. Halfway across the galaxy, in the crystal halls of the Queen heard it. Cole's ship was hit again. The engines died. He was drifting now, helpless, waiting for the killing blow. But it did not come. On the tactical display of Os's ship, something strange was happening. Several ships in his fleet had stopped firing. Others were turning away. Confusion spread through the enemy formation as captains hesitated, uncertain who to trust. Cole's words had planted doubt. His bravery had cracked the foundation of his power. In that moment of chaos, Os made his move. His engineers had managed to partially repair the faster-than-light engines. It would only work for one short jump, but it was enough. The flagship vanished into faster-than-light travel, carrying Ra toward home. Behind them, Cole's ship was captured by his forces. The human who had a lord was taken prisoner. But the message had been sent. The truth was out there. And across the galaxy, people were beginning to listen. The crystal spires of the rose toward the sky like frozen flames. Ra had dreamed of this sight during all the long days of running and hiding. Now she was home, but she felt no joy. Queen waited in the great hall, surrounded by advisors and guards. She was ancient by any standard, her pale skin marked by centuries of life, her silver eyes deep with wisdom and sorrow. When entered, the queen rose from her throne and moved toward her daughter with a speed that surprised everyone. They embraced without words. For a long moment they simply held each other, mother and daughter, reunited after a journey through darkness. "I thought I had lost you," the queen whispered. "You nearly did," Ra said. "But I am here because of one person, a human named Cole." The queen pulled back and studied her daughter's face. She saw something there she had never seen before: pain, determination, and something else, something that looked almost like love. "Tell me everything," the queen said. Ra told her. She told her about the attack, about being rescued from the wreckage, about the weeks of running and hiding. She told her about Cole's bravery and kindness, about how he had refused to abandon her even when it would have been easy. She told her about his sacrifice, flying alone into an enemy fleet to broadcast the truth. "He is a prisoner now," Ra said. "Has him, and I will not leave him there." The queen listened in silence. When Ra finished, she turned to her advisors. "What do we know of this Lord's current position?" The advisors exchanged glances. One of them stepped forward, a thin with nervous eyes. "My queen, Lord has retreated to his stronghold in the outer systems. His fleet has scattered after the humans' broadcast. Many captains have abandoned him, but he still commands significant forces, and he still holds the human prisoner." "Then we will take the human back," the queen said. The advisor looked shocked. "My queen, respectfully, is one human worth the cost of a military assault. We should focus on consolidating our power here, on ensuring the succession." "The succession is already ensured," Queen said. Her voice was cold and hard. "My daughter stands before you, alive and strong. She survived because of this human. He risked his life for her. He sacrificed his freedom for the truth. If we abandon him now, we prove that they have no honor." She turned to Ra. "You have changed, daughter. I see it in your eyes. This human has taught you something important, has he not?" Ra nodded. "He taught me that strength is not just power. It is also compassion. It is standing by those who need you, even when it costs everything. We have forgotten this, Mother. We have become so old and careful that we have forgotten what it means to truly live." The Queen was silent for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, but genuine. "Then let us remember," she said. "Prepare the royal fleet. We move on Stronghold at dawn." The assault began the next morning. Queen herself led the attack, her flagship at the front of a formation that stretched across the stars. It was a display of power that the galaxy had not seen in generations. Its remaining forces tried to resist, but too many of his captains had lost faith. The broadcast had done its work. Doubt and shame had spread through his ranks like a disease. When the royal fleet appeared, half of his ships simply surrendered. The battle for the stronghold was short and brutal. Tried to flee, but there was nowhere to go. He was captured in his own throne room, dragged before the Queen in chains. "You will pay for your crimes," Queen told him. "Treason, murder, the attempted assassination of my daughter. Your name will be erased from history, your house will fall, and you will spend the rest of your very long life in darkness." Snarled with hatred, but he had no power left. He was taken away, and his story ended. Ra did not watch. She was already running through the corridors of the stronghold, searching. She found Cole in a cell deep beneath the fortress. He was bruised and battered, but alive. When he saw her, he smiled. "You came," he said. "Did you doubt it?" "No, never." They freed him from the cell and brought him to the surface. The battle was over. The sun was rising over the alien sky, golden and warm. Cole stood in the light and breathed deeply. He had been in darkness for days, not knowing if he would ever see the sky again. Now he was free, because of her, because she had kept her promise just as he had kept his. Ra stood beside him. "My mother wants to meet you." "Is she angry?" "Quite the opposite." They returned to the together. Cole had never seen anything like it. Crystal towers that reached toward the clouds, gardens that glowed with bioluminescent flowers, oceans that stretched to the horizon, their waters silver and still. In the great hall, Queen waited. The court was assembled. Hundreds of nobles, warriors, and officials filled the vast space, all of them watching the human who had saved their princess. Cole walked forward alone. He was still wearing his damaged flight suit, still covered in the dirt and blood of his imprisonment. He looked small and fragile among these ancient beings, but he walked with his head high and his eyes steady. Queen descended from her throne to meet him. She stopped an arm's length away and studied him with her silver eyes. "Cole of Earth," she said, "you saved my daughter, you exposed a traitor, you risked your life for a people who had never shown you kindness. Tell me, human, what reward do you desire? Wealth, land, a position of honor in my court?" Cole met her gaze. "I do not want any of those things." The court murmured in surprise. The Queen raised an eyebrow. "Then what do you want?" Cole turned and looked at Ra. She stood at the edge of the crowd, her silver eyes bright, her pale skin glowing softly in the light. "I want permission to stay," he said. "Not as a noble or an official, just as myself, just as someone who belongs here." The Queen followed his gaze to her daughter. She saw the look that passed between them. She saw the bond that had formed during their journey through fire and darkness. She smiled. "Then stay," she said. "You are now and forever a friend of the Dominion, the first human to ever receive this title. You will be welcome in our halls for as long as you live." The court applauded, but Cole barely heard them. He was watching Ra walk toward him through the crowd. She stopped in front of him and took his hand. "You kept your promise," she said. "Always." They stood together in the great hall, the alien princess and the human cargo hauler. Behind them, the court watched in amazement. Before them, the crystal spires of the Reach toward the sky. Word of what had happened spread across the galaxy. Traders and travelers and diplomats carried the story to 1,000 worlds. They spoke of the human who had saved a princess, the human who had flown alone into an enemy fleet armed only with truth, the human who had earned the friendship of a species that had barely noticed his kind existed. And wherever the story was told, people asked the same question. What was it about humans? They were small, they were weak, they lived such brief lives, and yet when they chose to stand beside someone, they did not waver, they did not break. Perhaps that was their secret. Perhaps that was why they were worth knowing. Cole never returned to Earth. He made his home among the stars, beside the woman he had crossed the galaxy to save. He lived the rest of his years in the crystal halls of an outsider who had become family. And when he finally died, old and gray and at peace, they mourned him as one of their own. They sang songs about his bravery. They told stories about his kindness. They built a monument to his memory in the gardens of the royal palace. The inscription read simply, "Here was a human who kept his promises." The stars continued to turn. The galaxy continued to spin. But the story of Cole lived on, a reminder to all who heard it that sometimes the smallest and briefest lives could make the biggest difference. And somewhere in the heavens, among the endless light of distant suns, his spirit watched over the princess he had saved and the world he had come to love. Forever,